Good evening and welcome to our special edition of Politiki. We are live from the ANC's 54th National Elective Conference, and breaking news at this hour is that the ANC Elective Conference has decided to expropriate land without compensation. We know that this was a big debate towards policy conference and inside policy conference, and at that time in July the matter did not win, but this time around it has won the conference. We know that it was a matter that was pushed forward very strongly by those that were supporting the now defeated presidential candidate Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. But what does this all mean? We are now joined by our resident analyst Mpumelelo Mkhabela to understand what are the implications of this major decision. Mpumelelo, you were sitting in that briefing by Enoch Godongwana, the head of economic policy, when he announced this big announcement that the ANC has agreed to expropriate land without expropriation. Did he give reasons or why the ANC decided to go this way?
Well, one of the reasons he gave was that there's a public anger that's growing in society about people wanting land and not finding land, either for settlement or for agricultural purposes. But it seems to me that this is more about the failure of the ANC to implement existing policies. We know, for example, that there is nothing in the Constitution that stops the government from progressing aggressively in terms of restitution and resettlement of people, in terms of proper spatial planning to make sure that everyone has got land for settlement and those who need to farm actually get access to land to farm. So the ANC has failed to implement existing policies, and now it's trying to add another policy which will serve only one purpose really: to unsettle the markets, contribute to policy uncertainty, scare investors, and in fact, in the end, actually will have a regressive effect to what the ANC is trying to achieve.
There was some qualifier that he tried to speak about, saying that the whole process should be sustainable at the end.
Yes, but even that, he doesn't have a solution on how sustainable, how it can be made to be sustainable. I mean, I asked a question, for example, that how can you say that this will be done in such a way that it doesn't affect other sectors of the economy, given the fact that banks already have land as collateral for the loans that commercial farmers are making. And he actually agreed to that. He says about 250 billion worth of loans are actually attached to land. So if you're really going to expropriate without compensation, the question is, what will happen to that financial institution that is a bank that actually holds the land or has right to the land by virtue of the loan advance to the farmer? So he has no solution to that. In fact, he even goes on to say that 20% of that amount is actually money that loans that are with the land bank, which is a state-owned company. And we know that the state-owned companies are in trouble right now. So why would you want to cause so much uncertainty that the 20% of that 250 billion worth of loans that are sitting with the land bank are now going to be uncertain as to whether the land bank has that money? Once the state starts expropriating, the value of that land will actually go down. As in tomorrow, we may start seeing the market changing and actually punishing us.
I mean, if we assume that the ANC will fall through and actually go ahead, it would mean that they would need the likes of the EFF to actually be able to change the constitution, an offer that they were given earlier on and they rejected.
Indeed, you will need the EFF to amend the constitution, because the ANC, as we know, doesn't have two-thirds majority. But what is interesting about this is that it seems to me that really this is about more political desperation on the side of the ANC. They have realized that the EFF was launched and campaigned heavily in the beginning on the issue of land. In fact, the EFF itself took the policies of the Pan-Africanist Congress, which is now almost extinct, and modernized, and actually it's got young people aggressively campaigning for land. And they have been able to get voters behind them, eating away from the support base of the ANC. So the ANC now has been trying to mount a counter-attack, and unfortunately they're doing it in a bad way. It's fine if the EFF has got this kind of policies, but for the ANC to be pushed to be that ultra-left to actually nationalize land without compensation, it actually goes against the core policies of the ANC and goes against the constitution that the ANC itself has been propagating for some time.
Of course, we're going to expect that business will be unhappy with this, farmers will be unhappy with this, the uncertainty that it creates will plunge an economy that is already desperate and on its knees even further into crisis?
Indeed, this is too radical a policy decision. Even as a suggestion coming from an ANC conference, it's a massive issue. And for me, it also says something about the challenges that Cyril Ramaphosa is going to face as a new president of the ANC. We know that soon after he was elected, the market actually smiled. The rand appreciated. And as recently as this morning, we were told that the petrol price will go down by 10%, simply because the rand had improved dramatically after his election. Not 10%, but 10 cents. So now, with this announcement, I am sure tomorrow the rand is going to tank, and I'm sure the markets are just going to go tumble tomorrow. And then because there will be so much policy uncertainty. We know that there's also the issue around mining. The charter, the issue is not yet resolved. And investors were looking forward to a Ramaphosa presidency that was going to clarify this confusion that has been caused by Mosebenzi Zwane and the Gupta-linked minister. Now we are having this new radical policy now under Ramaphosa himself. So it's really, really going to be difficult for him.
The story that we've been telling in this conference is that Cyril Ramaphosa has won the battle, but clearly he has not won the war. This was an issue that was pushed very strongly by those that supported Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and basically he's now having to implement decisions from that faction.
Yeah, well, he can still win the long battle by way of stalling. I mean, there's a whole caveat that has been created with this resolution. They say they first want to check its sustainability, and then they will have a lekgotla where they will invite all stakeholders to debate the issue and find a sustainable way of implementing it. So I think there probably was a compromise in that commission. That's why you have this conditionality that was imposed of sustainability. And other people who are opposed to expropriation without compensation, they may want to use that to say, well, guys, let's not proceed with this thing because it's not sustainable. But for the purposes of reassuring investors, it can help because they remain with this uncertainty circling them around the neck to say, do we invest in this environment where property is not guaranteed? Or do we not? Can I take a loan now to expand farm production, given the fact that this land is going to be expropriated? Or can I not? If you are a farmer now, wanting to invest and expand your farm production, you can't do it, which means that you can't create jobs because the bank won't borrow you now because the bank doesn't know whether the land will be taken tomorrow and under what circumstances will it be taken.
Well, thank you very much. That was our News 24 resident analyst, Mpumelelo Mkhabela, basically analyzing for us the breaking story of this hour, the ANC elective conference deciding that land must be expropriated without compensation. And as we heard from Mpumelelo there is a rider to it. They're saying that the first must ensure that it is sustainable. But of course, how the markets react is what we will be watching here on News 24. We will be giving you more reaction to this breaking story. My name is Mahlase.